Hey, what is going on, everybody? I am happy to finally present to you my first very exclusive video for Marvel Strike Force. I am excited to share with you, as you can see behind me, this is the fabled Ravagers Rework alongside the release of Star-Lord T'Challa, who will be released later on in patch 5.9 for this team. Of course, there are going to be other pre-patch videos, so if you are interested in the Uncanny X-Men rework and magic, then be sure to click on that video after you're done here. We got a lot of stuff to go over, including all of the kit and stat adjustments to the entire team, and in the second half of the video I'm going to share with you these base stat increases as compared to some more recent characters. This will be similar to my OG Spider-Man and Miles stat video that a lot of people seem to really like, so we're going to be doing this in a similar fashion as well. So without further ado, let's get this Ravagers rework started. Alright, so I'm really excited to go over this with you all here today. So we're going to start things off hot here with Star-Lord T'Challa, the kit for him. Now his traits are going to be including Hero, Cosmic, Tech, Blaster, and Ravager. Now, I am a little bit disappointed that he is not going to have the Wakandan tag, but, you know, bear with us, or bear with me, we're going to get through this together, and I do want to say that you can probably see this already. This Ravager rework is a war offense primarily team, but there is some pretty impressive kit changes for some of the characters, including the minions, and I want to go those over together with you. So the basic for T'Challa, basic element blast, attack primary target for 280% damage, plus bonus attack for 250%. This is, all of these kits are at 7775, just for everyone's aware, and you do gain offense up after this attack. So the only kind of disappointing thing is the offense up doesn't happen first, I guess, but I guess there's not a lot of instances where that happens. I was thinking of a monstrosity on this, but at level 7 this is 530% damage on the primary target, which is quite significant. The special Gravity Repulsor, available on turn 1, energy cost 6 out of 6, attack primary target for 400% damage plus apply blind, apply defense down. On War Offense, if Yondu is an ally, apply defense down to all enemies instead. So outside of War Offense, it's only going to be the primary target, but in War Offense, it's everyone as long as Yondu's on the field, which probably is going to happen. If the primary target has blind, steal 2 ability energy from that target. Okay, so this one's very important because this is the first time we've ever had a mechanic that steals ability energy from an enemy. I had the opportunity, I was given the opportunity to talk to some of the devs before the patch, and we made this a little bit clear. So I think there's going to be some eventual text description changes to this, but basically it steals up to 2 ability energy. So it's not flat 2. So what this means is, say for whatever reason you're fighting an enemy that doesn't have 2 ability energy. I don't know why, but maybe that they just use their attacks and the target that you chose does not have 2 ability energy, it will steal up to 2. So if for whatever reason across both of all their skills they only have 1 ability energy, you will only take 1. So what you should do when you're using this character, make sure that you're targeting someone who probably hasn't used all their skills. Now this is a little bit tricky because we can't see how many ability energy there are on the enemy, and this makes it a little bit more challenging, but if you do take someone that's probably likely to have more ability energy, say like Dr. Doom or something, he's not time platformed, whatever, you're gonna guarantee that 2 ability energy, and that's gonna go to Star-Lord T'Challa. So this attack is also unavoidable. I just wanted to make that part pretty clear about the stealing of the ability energy, because this is a brand new mechanic, so in case people are a little bit confused about this. And the primary target has to have blind, so likely this is always going to be the case, because the blind does trigger first, but if the blind is resisted, then the ability energy will not be stolen, so they have to be blinded. If it gets resisted, too bad, so sad, Star-Lord's not going to be able to get that. So Ultimate Ravager Rocket, energy cost 5 out of 5, also available on turn 1. Copy all positive effects, excluding taunt and regeneration, and Safeguard. So I clarified this as well. Some people might find that a bit obvious, but Safeguard being a new mechanic is not going to be included in this. So it's excluding Taunt, Regen, and Safeguard, because Safeguard can't be copied in that way. So from all adjacent allies, attack primary target for 530% damage, increase the duration of all positive effects excluding regeneration for self and Ravager allies by +1, up to a maximum of 3. So there's going to be a lot of buffs on the field, and everyone, including himself, is going to get, if the Ravagers are going to get their duration of their buffs increased. So that is pretty nice. Passive, Rousing Ravager. On turn, and I have to say, by the way, 530% damage is pretty high, I think. So that's pretty good too. On turn, gain evade. On non-summoned enemy death, gain 30% speed bar. So this is very particular. No spam killing Gregs, unless it's bugged for whatever reason. But no spam killing Gregs or any minions. Actually, sorry, minions are okay. Summoned, not okay. So Greg does not count. Any other Ultron bots, Doom bots, these kind of things don't count either. You gain 30% speed bar otherwise. Gain 30% damage in war. Ravager allies gain 30% damage. So this is defense or offense, but this is a war offense team, unfortunately. You also gain 25% max health in war, and Ravager allies also gain 25% max health on war offense. So it's a pretty big increase, including the base stats to the Ravager characters. They're all going to get a pretty significant health bump, and this damage thing, this is actually to him specifically outside of war, but as far as war is concerned, the Ravager 30% damage, that is only in war. So if you're considering using Star-Lord T'Challa in Doom Raid Tech, which I think a lot of us might try to do, then at least a lot of this still applies. So that's really nice as well. The majority of his kit, you know, is still valid outside of war as it pertains to himself. So let's continue on for the reworks. So Yondu's base stats were increased a fair bit, you know, not as significant as I might have liked, and we'll look when we go to the actual tables. It's okay. It's not as significant as like OG Spider-Man. So it's roughly 20-ish% across the board. Damage got about a 12% increase. But let's get to the kit because that's what's exciting. This is the old stuff. This is the new stuff that was changed. So the basic did not change. It's still the same. It just, you know, clears positive status effects, whatever. The one thing I am kind of a little bit concerned about, for those older players, you might be familiar with Yondu's assist is actually pretty bad. For whatever reason, the damage assist, the assist and the damage was really low. I don't know if that's been changed. I don't know if it's super relevant, but I remember it just being really, really bad. So his boarding party special is 2 out of 3 energy. So this is usable fairly frequently, actually. Summon 1 Ravager Boomer and 1 Ravager Stitcher ally. So this is guaranteed to be one of each. Apply speed up to all Ravager allies for 1 turn. Gain stealth, he gains stealth. And then when he summons them, Ravager Boomer applies offense up for 2 turns to all Ravager allies. Not 1 turn, it's 2 turns. Once we get to the kit for Ravager Boomer, you'll find out why. This was a little bit of a mistext here. It's actually 2 turns, and then Ravager Stitcher applies regeneration to all Ravager allies for 2 turns as well. So this happens when you summon, which is really nice. It's essentially the same passive that Boomer and Stitcher both have. We'll get to when we scroll down, but I just wanted to point that out. Ultimate, Yaki Arrow, 3 out of 5. So this is available on turn 2, not turn 1. So you're going to summon first. Chain to all enemies who aren't stealth for 300% piercing. So the boldest stuff is the stuff that was changed. I'm assuming that this damage went up. I don't remember what the old damage is. It's up here, actually, I guess. So 250. It went from 250 to 300 at level 7. Clear 2 positive effects from each enemy. So you're clearing more than you were before. Gain 100% extra focus for each Ravager ally for this attack. So that is upwards to 400% additional focus for this attack, so it probably is gonna clear. That's a lot. You know, it kind of reminds me of like AIM, Scientist Supreme, getting extra focus for each AIM ally. Basically the same. This attack cannot be dodged. Passive, Centauri Hunter. You guys might be familiar with this, where he grabs and copies buffs from other players. This has changed a little bit. So on turn, copy 3 positive effects, excluding taunt, to self from each enemy. Clear the copied positive effects from the enemy. So you're taking 3 from everyone. If an enemy has blind, copy and clear all of their positive effects instead. So this is really, really nice. So it's all instead of 3, basically, if they're blinded. I don't know how many instances this is gonna actually happen, but you know, there's some where there's that many buffs stacked up on them. Ravager allies gain 5% damage. This is old. In war, gain 20% focus for each Ravager ally. So this is really nice, not only just for the passive, because I think the passive could be resisted. I forgot to follow up on this. It's possible the passive could be resisted, but that also adds additional focus onto the Yaki Arrow if you really need it. So it's like 400% plus another 80% with the full team. And that's pretty nice. And that's pretty much, I guess the basic also is still the same. It does, actually it's not even listed here, but it does clear positive effects on the basic as well, so that focus will help. Ravager Boomer got a significant increase. So 25% health, 32% damage. Armor is actually 0. Don't ignore this. Armor is 0. Wasn't changed. We'll see that it actually wasn't all that needed. Base focus 73%, resist 28%. So he had a pretty terrible kit. Not gonna lie, pretty terrible kit, but let's move on to the new kit. So, basic, Plasma Blast, and for those not familiar with minion characters, that they only have 3 abilities, they don't have an ultimate. Plasma Blast, 340% damage to the primary target, plus apply slow, and then you gain speed up afterwards. Full Blast, available on turn 1. This is a special. Attack primary target for 270% damage and adjacent targets for 220, but this reduces speed bar now by 30% for the primary and secondary targets, plus fill his speed bar for 30%. That is quite significant. It's pretty nice. Turn rewind is always really good. I also want to point out, Ravager Boomer is a tech character. So it's actually not listed here. Sorry, my bad. I don't know why I scrolled up. He is a tech character. Can you imagine if you ran this on Doom Raid? I don't know if this is going to be a good idea or not, but it just kind of makes me laugh a little bit because of the speed bar reduction. His passive, Heavy Artillery, so this was increased, so there is an assist chance for Ravager allies, and that's why I wanted to bring up what I said earlier about Yondu, because that's a little bit concerning. On War Offense, always assist non-minion Ravager allies. On Spawn, apply offense up for 2 turns to self and Ravager allies. So I talked about this earlier on about Yondu summons, so that's why this happens. Ravager Bruiser got a significant increase for his base stats, 43% for health, 20% for damage, 33% for armor, and 163% for focus. Why that much focus? We'll find out. 53% for resistance as well. So he's kind of the tank of the team. So the old stuff, basically he would like attack on his basic, which had a chance to trigger a taunt, and then his special was really garbage. It just gave him defense up and it healed a little bit. So this has been changed significantly. Basic, Cutlass, attack primary target for 350% damage. So this went up quite a bit. If the primary target is a protector, apply defense down and disrupt. If the primary target has taunt, clear that taunt from the target and then gain 2 deflect up to a maximum of 5. On War Offense, gain 3 deflect instead. So that's a lot of deflecting going on. And then of course he gains taunt, and that taunt is guaranteed. No longer is it a 70% chance. Now his special is still also a 2 out of 2 cooldown. That's crazy. Super, super low. Avast. Apply defense up to self and all Ravager allies for 2 turns. Heal self for 2,000 plus 20% of this character's max health. So yeah, a 2-turn cooldown ability with defense up for the whole team for 2 turns. That's always going to be up, basically. Copy 3 positive effects, except stealth, from the primary target. On War Offense, copy all positive effects except stealth instead. So yeah, good night. And with the amount of focus that he has now, this is quite significant, and I followed this up with the devs as well. They basically say that the focus that is given to Ravager Bruiser should be enough to be able to do all this stuff without using something like a Skirmisher ISO in order to get more focus. The focus that he has should be sufficient for what he needs to do. And then flip 3 positive effects on the primary target. Okay, so you're copying 3 positive effects, or on War, all of them, and then you're flipping the positive effects that is on that target. That's a pretty big increase to Ravager Bruiser. Passive, Seasoned Fighter, so we have the block chance still, but on Spawn, apply defense up to self and all Ravager allies for 2 turns. So all of the Ravagers are giving different buffs. Ravager Boomer is giving offense up. Bruiser is giving defense up. Stitcher is giving regen when we get to there, and there's just a lot of buffs going on. Ravager allies now gain 25% armor as well, so that helps a little bit. We'll see when we get to their base stats, especially for Yondu, has a bit low on armor, so this should help a little bit. In War, Ravager allies gain 25% drain. I don't know if you really need this, but it's an interesting thing anyways. You know, it's going to give them a little bit more health during the battle. Okay, we're almost done. Ravager Stitcher. So the base stat increases are also fairly good here. 37% health, 44% damage, 15% armor, 80% focus, and 73% resistance. The old kit was pretty garbage. If you want to pause it and look at it here, this is how it is. But the new one, so basic Disintegrator. Clear death proof from the primary target. Attack the primary target for 280% piercing plus apply heal block. If the primary target has defense down, instead attack the primary target for 380% piercing plus apply heal block. So that's an additional 100%. Characters killed by this attack cannot be revived. So this is again, the devs told me this was a nod to the name of the attack called Disintegrator. How likely this is to actually kill someone that you want to, who might be revived. I'm thinking like Heroes for Hire. This is probably not happening. They said this is probably not happening. But, you know, you might find other uses for it. This might be just a fringe case. It's just a nod to the name. You could maybe use this to beat, like, I don't know if Red Skull minions are still on the field at all, but I mean, you could do things like that. There could be other instances where you could have fun with this attack, but yeah, don't read into it too much. You're not going to be killing heroes for hire. I highly doubt it with this attack. Special Stitcher Kit. This was a huge rework here. So, steal 10% health from the primary target and redistribute to the most injured ally. Heal the most injured ally for 3,500 health, plus 10% of this character's max health, and then apply immunity to that character. So, this is going to happen twice. It's the exact same text again. So, it's going to do this once. Attack the primary target, redistribute to the most injured ally. Now, if that character's still alive, it's going to do it again. Now, I do want to say that it has been confirmed that this will ping a death proof, so it's not going to bypass death proof in order to kill it, like Minerva did in the past. Those kind of kits, health steal stuff has been changed, so it will ping death proofs now. But then it will also then do this, all this other stuff. So you're getting the health steal for 10% on top of the regular heal here of 3,500 plus 10% and applying immunity. This may not happen to the same person because it says to the most injured ally. So it's possible that this will happen to one person and then that person is going to get raised. And if someone else is injured, then it might go to them too. So it might heal 2 people, might heal 1 person twice. It just depends. So passive Stimulix treatment, Stimutox treatment, oh, I got that wrong. 25% max health. We'll see how that plays a role in his base stat increases when we look at the stat table. On spawn, apply regeneration for 2 turns to self and all Ravager allies. So that's the same of what I talked about for the summons for Yondu. There was some stuff you saw down below. That is going to be for a separate video. So this is all of the kit changes for the Ravager rework, including the kit for Star-Lord T'Challa. Now we're going to take a look at, we're actually going to take a look at some footage of the Ravagers taking on the Black Order. Believe it or not, the one that you saw in the video in the beginning was them taking on the Mercs, but we're really going to want to take a look at this footage that they gave us, and that's looking at the Black Order. And then we're going to get to the stat tables after. Alright, so I honestly could not believe when I saw this footage here. Ravagers versus Black Order in war offense. Take this with a bit of a grain of salt, I think. So this is tier 16, level 85 content. It's essentially a punch across, so take it for what you will. I would be interested to see whether or not that there's going to be punch-up potential here. It is a bit zoomed in as well, so it's kind of hard to see everything and when they click on abilities. So Thanos goes first here, and he's bapping, I guess, the 3 of them there. Proxima chucked her star throw, whatever it's called there, for the offense down, and then Thanos flips. So you can see right away that, boom, all the negative effects there are there that they basically flipped from all the stuff they started with. Now, Star-Lord T'Challa takes his turn first. And something happens there. I don't, you know, I haven't memorized the kit yet. He does his ultimate, I think. I forget which skill. And so he hit Cull Obsidian there. Now we see that. So the special from Ravager Boomer knocked back the turn bar for Cull Obsidian and for Corvus Glaive, and it gave 30% turn bar for Ravager Boomer as well. Corvus takes his turn, goes in there, and it looks like they're on the ropes a little bit. So we get the summons there from Yondu, and that gives additional buffs. It gives offense up and the regen for summoning a Ravager Boomer and Ravager Stitcher. So now there's 2 Ravager Stitchers and 2 Boomers on the field. We also get the defense up, the special, the Avast special from Bruiser. That gives defense up to the full team and 2 turns of taunt on Bruiser. So a lot of the buffs that were flipped are now kind of back up. The offense up is there, the defense up is there, and the regen is back available as well. So you just kind of need to survive that at the sort of beginning, I guess. Now we have what's interesting here. So the Ravager Stitcher special, and you're getting a bit of assist here, but it's you see that the minions also get this skill. So it pinged, so you're seeing a hit for 1 damage here. That's because it pinged the death proof. If you remember what I said earlier about the skill, that it doesn't go through the death proof anymore, it pings the death proof. So even the minions are going to have this skill, which is very interesting. So draining for 10% health twice on a minion summon from Yondu. So not only the regular Stitcher, but also the minion summon will also get that too. So Cull Obsidian is now dead, and now we're back to the summoned Boomer, and he's going to do the special there, probably for the turn bar rewind. You maximize that on hitting 3 targets. So 30%, that can really add up when you have minions, right? It's not just the regular Boomer, but it's also the summons too. So that was the special there. You can see the blind on Proxima Midnight. Did we get the drain mechanic there? You can see... Did you see that? I paused it at the wrong time. But there was the drain mechanic that came from Proxima Midnight afterwards. So it happens at the end. Okay, and then we're basically, you know, it's almost a full party against 3 of them. And so it's fairly impressive, but it's a punch across. So, you know, take this with a grain of salt. We've seen things like Skilletary, and that didn't work so well. So I'm gonna, you know, be conservative about this. It looks pretty interesting so far, and without a doubt, as far as war offense teams, it's quite interesting. But we have to keep in mind that this is a minion team. And so whether or not you're going to want to put your resources into a war team, a war offense team, but also a minion team is really going to be up to you. You know, how much resources do you have, what your red stars look like, and how badly you want to do this. Otherwise, I still see Star-Lord T'Challa to be a very good standalone character, and I think you're probably going to want to consider using him for things like Doom Raid tech. But I just want to keep in mind here that, you know, a lot of these characters are older characters. If you're a veteran player who may have some of these characters either at really high red stars or invested in Yondu in the past, this might be something that you might want to do like Gear Tier 12 and see what happens. But I'm not sure this is a team that you're necessarily going to want to bring up to Gear Tier 14. Plus, with the exception of maybe Star-Lord T'Challa, and maybe that's enough. You know, we'll have to soon see. So that is the Ravagers versus the Black Order, and they beat it. Ravager Bruiser did end up biting in here, but otherwise, the 4 of them stayed alive. So that's pretty interesting. Let's jump on over to the stats, though, where we really see, you know, how the base stat increases stack up against some of the newer characters that we have in this game. Alright, and here we are with the Ravager base stat increase tables. You guys might find this a little bit familiar if you watched my videos on OG Spider-Man and Miles. I've set this up in a very similar fashion. I've also added a couple of categories here called the character equivalent and rating, just to give you guys a little bit of an idea of what this represents, you know, in terms of the base stat increase. Maybe having a character to look at or to compare to might give you guys a better idea on how good this is or not. So, we've seen the base stat increases here for Yondu, 20%, 12, 20, 29, 20, and so I've gone ahead and done this in a similar style of 7 yellow to start, and then we added in the red stars and the ISOs afterwards to give you a grand total of what this might look like at the higher end. So if you look here, Yondu has a grand total of 344,000. This is with 7 yellow, 5 red, blue ISO 2, level 85 gear 15, not 16, which a lot of people do use, but that's just because really gear 16 is very far away for a lot of people, so it's not really a point to using that. So his character equivalent for health is about Hela, so this is a little bit below average, but there'll be ways to gain that, especially with T'Challa when we take a look at him. So his damage is about 31,000 here, equivalent to Cap Sam, which is actually above average, so a fair bit above average. This is probably in the top 25% if it's bolded with above average, just to kind of let you guys know. So that's pretty good, actually. His armor, on the other hand, is equivalent to Cyclops, which is quite below average, so this is in the bottom 25%. So we're going to have to hopefully make this up with Ravager Bruiser's passive, and hopefully it's good enough. His focus is on par with Phoenix, which is a little bit above average, and Sharon Carter for resistance, who is also around the average for that stat. Now for Ravager Bruiser, huge increases to Ravager Bruiser, trying not to scroll down too much here. So he had his increase of 43% to health, 20% damage, 33% to armor, 163 for focus, and 53 for resistance. So his grand total for hit points is about 475,000. He's equivalent to a Wolverine rework. So that's pretty significant because it's also quite above average. This is about in the top 25%. His damage, on the other hand, is a little bit above average, closer to Shatterstar. So this kind of gives you a little bit of an idea there. His armor, though, significantly higher, equivalent to Deathpool, which is well above average in that top 25%. His focus, which he does actually need to do a lot of his kit stuff, is around Black Widow. This is above average, but hopefully this is enough, or he doesn't get resisted too often on his basic or on his special. So that's what I'm concerned about the most, and resistance, very similar to Yondu, about average at Sharon Carter. So let's talk about Ravager Boomer's stats. We're going to scroll over here, and we have over here, oh, I'm going to scroll a little bit further, just, oh, maybe I should zoom out a little bit here. Sorry, my apologies. So we have the new stats here, the fresh total at the end. We have 377,000, which is the character equivalent of Taskmaster. This is a little bit above average, but not by too much. Now his damage on the other hand is well above average. Now with the rework, puts him at around Electro's level, so this is in the top 25% as well. Now his armor is around Ultron level. This is a little bit above average, but not by much. So he is a blaster, so what do you expect really at the end of the day? His focus is similar to Phoenix. That being said, the only thing you need for him to land stuff is his basic, which lands slow, so I don't think there's a huge deal for him needing a ton of focus, but it is what it is. Again, his resistance is about Ultron level, but in this case it's a little bit below average. That being said, he is a blaster, he's not meant to tank. Ravager Stitcher, now this is a really interesting one. So he got some really big increases for his stats. So for his health, he actually lands in sort of the Squirrel Girl range of stats, which is well above average and in the top 25%. So for a minion, that is quite extortionate and quite crazy if you really think about it. Now, a lot of his kit, you know, even though he does heal on his special, it does that drain mechanic. So, you know, even though he's only going to be healing a little bit with the special outside of the drain, it's still going to be quite a bit because of that Squirrel Girl heavy hit points. So that's quite nice. His damage got a pretty significant bump. He's about a Captain Marvel level, which is above average, but nothing too significant. So I don't know what the chances of him killing anyone with the Disintegrator basic is or not, but maybe we'll see that in battle and it'll give us some funny results. His armor, on the other hand, is a little bit above average, landing him at a Misty Knight. His focus about a Yo-Yo, which is a little bit above average, and Doc Ock a little bit above average on the resistance as a kind of point of reference. So what I do want to show you though is I want to talk about T'Challa. Because what we do have is we have the displayed stats from this video clip here that I want to show you. This is what we saw. Now, this is at gear tier 16. This is also at 7 yellow, 4 red, and blue striker ISO level 2. So just to kind of show you what it looks like, this is him in the roster of the game, and I want to share that with you as well. So he has some pretty impressive stats. We saw the kit, so I'm not going to go over this all here with you. In case you want to see it, actually, I will pause it at the points for the T4s if you guys are interested. So this is the passive here for the upgrade. This one is the ultimate here for the upgrade level 7. This is the special level 7 upgrade if you want to pause it to take a look of how many T4s you think you might need, and this is the basic here as well, which is just damage. Now when we get to the actual stats, we also see that he has a speed of 125, which we'll notice in the chart. So let's talk about the chart. So like I said, this is Blue Striker 2, G16, level 85, 7 yellow, 4 red. Now this is different than all the above characters. I did not reference that because I think it's very high and also very unlikely that you're going to get to this anytime soon. That being said, the character equivalent and the rating is with the old stats in mind. So I just scaled back the stats a little bit with some math to give you an idea of what it looks like. So his health, these are all the displayed stats. So again, at that level. But his character equivalent for health is about a bishop level, which is, it's okay. You know, for a blaster, Bishop's a blaster, but, you know, for a new character, this is pretty decent. It's a bit above average. Now, where he really excels is he has a very high damage pool. So 53,000, this is at this level, of course, but this is Phyla-Vell very high. This is top 3 in the game very high. Now, he does have a damage passive, so do keep that in mind, but still, alongside that, which I believe Phyla-Vell also has a damage passive, which is why her damage stat is so high in the game. But yeah, it's pretty nuts. So we'll see what this really means in battle in terms of how much damage he can output. Black Bolt is his armor a character equivalent, so this is actually a little bit below average, not by much, but it is a little bit. His focus is closer to Yo-Yo, so it's a little bit above average. He does have some instances where he needs to rely on focus, namely his special, when he's trying to land that blind and then subsequently stealing that energy, which is really important. His resistance is a little bit below average as well, so this is an Ultron level sort of resistance, very similar to some of the other Ravagers. So his speed, though, is 125, which puts him at Kestrel. Kestrel also has a 125 speed. This is above average pretty much. It is a top 20 speed in the game, so that's really good. His damage is really good, and his health is not so bad. You know, it's above average, but not by a lot. So special notes here, he includes 25% health passive, 30% damage passive, and he also gets armor from Bruiser in War. So even though his armor is a little bit below average, when using him in Alliance War, that's going to be propelled up a little bit more. So overall, Some special notes for this team. Star-Lord T'Challa does give 25% max health to all Ravager allies. So when you look at the health totals, it's going to get 25% more when you're using them together. Star-Lord T'Challa also gives 30% more damage to Ravager allies. So when you're looking at the damage totals, that's also going to be increased higher because of T'Challa. Do keep in mind that T'Challa is probably going to be released way later at the back end of this patch, so it's going to be a little while before you get him out. Yondu does give 5% damage as well to the rest of the Ravager allies. This is unchanged from his original kit. Yondu does also gain 20% more focus per Ravager ally. Boomer, Bruiser, and Stitcher all have on-spawn buffs for offense up, defense up, and regen for 2 turns, and Bruiser also gives additional 25% armor and drain to Ravager allies. So that's it there for the stats. Let me know what you think of all 5 of the characters. This is the biggest one here. So obviously I still have a Uncanny X-Men and Magic video if you haven't caught that one yet, although this one was significantly longer because there was much more reworks done to this group than any of the others. Are you going to be building Ravagers or not? Let me know. Star-Lord T'Challa does look like a good standalone character that you're going to want to build probably for Doom Raid Tech. And, you know, if you want to play around with the Ravagers in War, I might as well. But, you know, I'm not huge on War teams, so it really depends. I might bring them up to like a Gear Tier 12 level just to play around with them, that kind of stuff. But long term, not really sure about it. But it still looks like a lot of fun anyways. And I think for people who are looking for something different, it actually provides you with that kind of bit of fun. So that's the end of this video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And of course, until next video or next time I see you, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.